There isn't any doubt that the meeting in the Little White Schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin, March 20th, 1854, played a major role in the political landscape of today. This fact was preserved in a major way exactly 100 years later to the day in 1954. Days before the centennial of the Republican birth, on March 7th in Washington, D.C., Vice President Richard Nixon, was also the chairman of the Republican Centennial Committee, made a remarkable announcement concerning Ripon. Nixon had announced plans for the rekindling of the freedom flame, and that citizens of Ripon have pledged to keep the flame burning. Nixon said the flame will be lighted at the same small schoolhouse where Whigs, Free Soilers, and Democrats gathered in 1854 and pinned upon themselves the label of Republicans. He went on to say that the affair held in Ripon on March 20th, 1954 will be attended by many Republican national leaders, Hollywood stars, and others. Ripon will be the site of the freedom flame, which will be kindled like the flame burning before the tomb of the unknown soldier. It will continue to burn as long as freedom lives in America, said Nixon. By the next morning, the vice president's announcement was found in newspapers all across the nation, and throughout the coming days, the sensation of this event would grow. By the following week, it was revealed that President Ike Eisenhower himself would officially open the centennial celebration of the Republican Party in Ripon, Wisconsin, by pressing a telegraph switch in the nation's capital to light the freedom flame, and that at 8 o'clock on March 20th, the President of the United States will press the telegrapher's key and spark an electrical impulse that will travel by wire of Western Union to the freedom flame and cause Ripon's memorial candle to light. It was said the lighting will then set in motion a Freedom Torchlight Brigade of some 1,000 torchbearers who will march through the streets of Ripon lighting candles in every home and business establishment, setting forth a presidential proclamation that this Freedom Brigade is to be repeated every year thereafter on March 20th. There was a time in the 80s when magician David Copperfield vanished the Statue of Liberty. Many people still credit this feat as the greatest illusion ever, and I remember how captivated I was as a small boy watching the illusion on live TV. Today, in 2018, I find the reason why David vanished the Statue of Liberty and the symbolism he brought more important than the trick itself.
I want to tell you why I did this. My mother was the first one to tell me about the Statue of Liberty. She saw it first from the deck of a ship that brought her to America. She was an immigrant. She impressed upon me how precious our liberty is and how easily it can be lost. And then one day, it occurred to me that I could show with magic how we take our freedom for granted. Sometimes we don't realize how important something is until it's gone. So I asked our government for permission to let me make the Statue of Liberty disappear, just for a few minutes. I thought if we faced emptiness, where for as long as we can remember, that great lady has lifted up her lamp, why then we might imagine what the world would be like without liberty, and we'd realize how precious our freedom really is. And then I would make the Statue of Liberty reappear by remembering the word that made it appear in the first place. The word is freedom. Freedom is the true magic. It's beyond the power of any magician. But wherever one human being guarantees another the same rights he or she enjoys, we find freedom. How long can we stay free? For just as long as we keep thinking and speaking and acting as free human beings. Our ancestors couldn't. We can. And our children will. Now!
On the night of March 20th, 1954, President Eisenhower was attending the White House press photographers' dinner in his honor. He left and went to a nearby room. He pushed down on a special golden telegraph key embossed with a gold flag. He held down the key for a few moments and then looked at D.E. Long, the White House communications officer. "That ought to do it," the president said. Long nodded, and Mr. Eisenhower started back to the banquet, but he had to stop, making certain that the flame had lit. The president was told that he had indeed ignited the gas torch in front of the little white schoolhouse, and Ike then urged his fellow Republicans to face the future, as he put, with faith, hope, and courage to fulfill their responsibilities. The celebration in Ripon had indeed begun, amazement as the flame flashed into the night when the president pressed the key in Washington, as excitement had broke out from all those who were witness to the ignition. Ripon Mayor Robert Bourne told the cheering crowd of several thousand that, "I solemnly pledge in behalf of the people of Ripon, their children and their children's children, to keep this torch aflame as long as freedom exists, and God willing, may it forever." Then 600 torches made from rags soaked in oil, tacked onto long sticks, were lit from the flame of the Freedom Flame and spread through the city of then 5,600 people in a giant procession. Republican spokesperson and chairman of the Republican National Committee, Leonard Hall, from the president down, had classified the torch and its lighting to be kept aglow as a symbol of America's freedom and liberty, and said, "The light was expected to bring the people all over the world, even behind the Iron Curtain, the hope that they will someday enjoy the freedom that we know in the United States." Leonard was right. The worldwide spotlight shined down on Ripon as the morning papers rang news of the event all around the world. It was compared to other lights in history like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris and the Olympic light from the original flame at the first Olympic Games. However, by the time President Eisenhower gave his second inaugural address, referencing the Freedom Flame in 1957,
"May the light of freedom, coming to all darkened lands, flame brightly, until at last the darkness is no more."
And not long after the spotlight of March 54 had faded, like a Copperfield illusion, the significance of Ripon's flame had vanished. We ask why. Where did it go? It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. The chilling symbolism and disappearance of this light is the slap in the face to the honor in which it was created. We are a new audience now, one that is cheering to rekindle that flame once again. On March 20th, 2018, at 8 p.m. Central, the Ripon Rabbit Hole will, in honor of the duty in our mission for the spirit of Ripon, will electronically reignite that spark just as it was so many moons ago. We vow to hold and keep lit virtually until the presidentially proclaimed tradition and physical freedom flame returns once again to its intended keepers, the citizens of Ripon, Wisconsin.